Welcome to the early childhood trauma training that we're having with our K through 12 teachers today. We would like to highlight a few things that we are looking for when it comes to early childhood trauma. Even if you don't have younger kids, some of the older kids could still be displaying some of these types of behaviors because of past trauma. So it's really important to understand what these traumas are and how they affect each child. On our first slide, we have what is early childhood trauma, ECT? Early childhood trauma is any trauma that has happened to a child between the ages of 0 or birth to 6 years old. They are exposed to anything negatively affects them in their environment. This is basically things that are happening to the child that is out of the child's control, that they have no idea of how to respond to, because we're talking about little kids. We're not talking about teenagers. We're not talking about adults. We're talking about little kids who may not know how to process what's going on or what's happening to them, but know that something is happening to them. And at this age, they're very fragile because what they see is what they mimic. So some of those behaviors will come into your classroom and you won't know why. So doing this type of training is to help you understand the why your student may be displaying some of these behaviors. ECT, Sun and others who wrote an amazing article talks about how the early childhood trauma is a significant health concern, and I agree. Being a pre-K teacher, that it is definitely a health concern, and every year we see more and more children who are being abused, neglected, and berated. We hear kids being called out of their name. We hear kids being told they're going to get whoopings when they get home. We hear things talking about you're not going to eat, you're going to go straight to your bed because you had a bad day and we don't want to deal with you. So we hear a lot of stuff in school, and as a teacher, it's important for you to follow through that and be like, hey, so I noticed that you were talking to Johnny, and you were saying that he's not going to have any food. Are you being serious? Because if you are, you can't really do that. You can't withhold food from a child because you don't like his behavior. You have to kind of fix his behavior, basically, if you don't like his behavior. So educators like ourselves, we're being trained on how to pinpoint the trauma that is going on. So with trainings like this, you'll be getting tips on how to recognize the trauma, how to assess the trauma, how to understand the trauma, what you can do as a professional with this trauma. So it's important for us to detect this childhood trauma because if it continues on, then this child is gonna be it's gonna be a longer process for them to understand exactly what's going on with themselves. What does trauma look like? Oh my gosh, trauma can look like anything. The most common things that we see in trauma is basically it's anything that disrupts the child from growing. So it's something that stops them and like they stand in their track and they're just there. So what does it look like? Divorced parents or a parent leaving, neglect, of course, abuse, abandonment, arguing, hostility. Like I said, depriving the kid of food, putting them in a corner or locking them in a closet. It could be washing their mouth out with soap. I know they used to do that in my day. I've had my mouth washed out many times with soap. So basically, not doing the adult is not doing their duty to help this child as a whole child. They're kind of minimizing what they're doing to the child and kind of telling themselves that, oh, it's okay to deprive food, or it's okay to wash their mouth out with soap, or it's okay to have them in a corner for 20 minutes. It's okay to have them sitting on rice for an hour. There's many ways what trauma looks like. There's no right trauma look. You really have to be in classrooms or be around these children to understand that they are going through a trauma, and this trauma is impeding them from growing and from basically doing their capabilities for whatever they're supposed to be doing, because they could be getting bad grades, they could be getting good grades, they can have a bad attitude, they can have a good attitude, they can be secluded, they can be extroverted. So it just all depends. There is no right or wrong of what trauma looks like. All right, so abuse is basically anything that could hurt the child's growth. And I say that because fighting with other people is like something that stops their growth. They're noticing that you guys are always fighting. You guys are always yelling at each other. You guys are always berating each other. You're berating the child. You're being mean to the child, putting the child in corners for a long time. You're doing withholding food. You're doing a lot of stuff that you're not supposed to do. And that all is a type of abuse. Abuse is not just whooping your child so they get welts and big humps on their back or bruises or marks. There's a lot of silent abuse that can go on, which is more mental abuse, I would have to say, than it is physical abuse. So you might see a kid falling asleep in class. He been up all night either arguing with his parents or hearing his parents argue all night. That's not a good environment that the child needs to be in. Hygiene issues. The kid could smell bad, smell like urine, smell like feces, anything. Could have bed bug bites. Could have scar for more brown and black community. Their skin can be very ashy and torn up, like they haven't moisturized or lotioned or anything. Maybe they don't have that in their capabilities to have, but also that could be a sign of abuse because their hygiene needs are not being met. Soiled or dirty clothing coming. I remember as a kid, I grew up in a very traumatic traumatic growing up as an early childhood kid. I remember going to school with soiled clothes. My clothes were dirty, my hair was dirty, my nails were dirty, my legs were dirty, I wasn't clean, and no one called CPS or the police or anyone to give me the help. So right now we're trying to negate those issues, and we're trying to find those issues so we can call the proper authorities. Lack of nutrition. This is a kid that could basically gobble up all the food, eat all the food, ask everybody else for their food. But this is also the kid that doesn't eat and doesn't want food. And he's very frail and he's really tiny and he's not of weight. So that could also be something too, because if food is being withheld, then he's not used to eating. So some kids, when food is withheld and they have food, they gorge it down and they want to eat it. But other kids, when they see food, it might be traumatizing for them to eat, because maybe when they eat at the table, their parents is yelling at them and calling them names and things like this. So that can be definitely one. Domestic violence is one that a lot of kids see, especially where I'm at in Gurns, Michigan. There's a lot of domestic violence cases that happens in school each year. Although the abuse is a big traumatic event, it is not the only one that educators need to look for. There is so much that you can look at and find out with a child and be like, hey, are you getting the proper food? Hey, do you have clean clothes? Hey, do you have clean water? Do you have running water? Some of these families live in houses where the water's turned off, the lights turned off, the gas is turned off in the winter. How are they surviving? So it's definitely with these types of kids, because these type of kids are usually preschool into first grade. They will tell you everything. They will tell you all their business. They just need you to want to hear it so you can talk to them about what they're actually going through at home. All right, educators are generally unprepared and unsupported for early childhood trauma and experience many workplace challenge, leaving them feeling overwhelmed and unprepared. That's from Sun et al. 2004 journal that they wrote. I would have to say I agree. Educators are very unprepared for the types of trauma that we have to deal with. Like, since I work for a company that deals with the low income, poverty level kids, I see a lot. But if I wasn't working in this type of environment, I wouldn't be able to see what I see. I don't think. I don't think I would be able to see it. So I was very unprepared for my first CPS case. I was very unprepared. I didn't know if I was right, if I was wrong. I didn't know what to do when I'm talking to the police and giving my statement, when I'm talking to the CPS worker, when the counselor comes to talk to my kid. I didn't know if I was right or if I was wrong or what was going on. So it is very, very, you're not prepared for this unless you do it. And you want to hope that you don't have to do it. However, it might just be one of those years where you have a lot of kids who are going through a lot and they need a lot of attention and they need a lot of people to help them out, because the ones that are supposed to be helping them out, they're not helping them at all. All right, what to expect out of a trauma child? All right, this is just a small list of things. This is not the be all, say all. This is not that. This is just a little list to start your mind thinking about some of the kids that are in your class. So um, they can be really quiet and they can keep to themselves. This is one of those, don't go out of the house telling my business, our business, stay in the house. You don't say anything. If you say anything, you're in a whooping or you're going to be locked in a closet or whatever. Like, there's always a threat that comes with the my business in the house. So they may be aggressive. They may be the one that starts fights because they have no power and they want power. That's just a child. A child wants power. He wants some say so in his life. And when everything has been taken away from him, he could be a little bit aggressive or a lot aggressive. They may smell. They may stink. I'm saying they may smell like feces. They may smell like urine. They may smell like rotten eggs. I've had different smells from different kids. And it will amaze you that parents a lot of times don't believe in brushing their hair, combing their hair, washing their hair, washing their body. They just send them home, send them to school in a new pair of clothes or whatever, another pair of clothes, and expect the stench not to be away. But, kids can get bullied that way. And then that can make them be aggressive at all because they are being bullied. So being unkept. Like I said, no hair maintenance, no lotions, no creams, no bathing, stench, bad stench. So unkept clothes, raggedy clothes, clothes with holes in them, clothes that are soiled, all types of things like that. And they may not want to be touched. They may, if you touch them, they may like shoo away from you or tell you to get away from them or stop or yell. That is a good sign. of abuse. When a kid yells at you and tell you to stop, you're hurting me, get off of me, and all you did was touch their shoulder, and that's all you did. But that is definitely a sign of abuse. Um, Kids want to be touched a lot. Yeah, kids want to be touched a lot. They want all the hugs and the rubs and the back rubs and the this and that. And when you're not affectionate with them, they're really mad and angry because they want that affection because they're not getting that affection. Um, Kids may just need attention, negative or positive. Maybe he's tearing up your classroom, dumping over your containers, knocking down your shelves, doing all kind of crazy stuff. Maybe that's what he's doing, and maybe that's what makes him happy. Or he could be the smartest kid in class, and he wants that recognition. Like, good job, Johnny. You did a really good job. You're the smartest person in this class. Can't believe you got that. So there's different layers to this. Like I say, this is not the be all say all list. There can be so much more. He may be the jester of the class. He may joke and not pay attention and not do his work. And he's basically saying that, okay, I can't do this work, but what I can do is I can joke and I can make this. And that happens when parents have not effectively helped the child academically grow. So he may not know how to write his name. He may not know his alphabet. He may not know his numbers. And instead, he just wants to joke and let that be what he does in the class and not do the work. He may not be able to make friends. Making friends may be one of the things that he's not good at. No one wants to play with him because he stinks, maybe because he's unkept, because whatever reason, maybe they just don't want to be around him. He may be the person that everybody likes because all he has is personality. He doesn't have anything else because everything else has been stripped away. Yep. All right. So ways educators can help. Notice signs. Keep learning about abuse and what to look for abuse. So keep noticing the signs. Notice the signs. The hungry kid, the kid that looks emaciated, the kid who has soiled clothes, the kid who smells, the bully. I mean, just look for the signs because they're there. Make sure you call the right people. Sometimes calling a parent may not be the right person, depending on if the parent, say the mom and dad live in the same house, and it's dad's week, and every time it's dad's week, you're noticing this stuff. Maybe telling mom, like, hey, on dad week, I'm noticing that XYZ and ABC is happening. So is there a way that we can figure out what's going on over there? Maybe you would need to call the parent or vice versa. Maybe you will have to call CPS and the police. Maybe you will. But make sure you're calling the right people, because if you call the wrong people, the child might just end up in a bad situation that you don't want to be in there. Don't be afraid to do the next steps. Don't be afraid. It's okay. I'm sure, like, when I first called CPS, I was scared, but I was like, okay, once I finished it, I was like, okay, that was good. I did the right thing. So, and talk to the child. The child might tell you. They will tell you more than what you think they'll tell you. Monitor the child. Like I said, noticing at dad's week, he's like this, and at mom's week, he's like this. Make sure you're noticing your child like that, because then you can help pinpoint quickly what's going on. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask the parents. Ask the kid. Just ask them. Make sure you're building a rapport with the families as well. So when you're asking these questions, they're like, oh, she never asked me anything. Why is she talking to me? So make sure you do that. All right, interventions. So realize that the widespread impact of trauma and understanding the potential path for recovery. Recognizing the signs and the symptoms of trauma in clients, families, staff, and other systems. Respond by being fully integrated knowledge about the trauma and policies, procedures, and practices, and seek to actively resist re-traumatizing the child. You don't want the child to be re-traumatized. You want to get to the point of what's going on, but you do not want to re-traumatize that child. So be careful how you ask them things, in front of who. Just be mindful. What are we called to do as educators? When we see something, say something. Don't be afraid of being wrong. Remember, the child's health comes first. You're an advocate for the child. You're not an advocate for the parent. If the parent's the one that's bringing this harm to the child, you have the right to speak up and say, hey, this is going on. I would like to know why. So yeah, just be an advocate for the child. That is one of the most best things that you can do for the child. Thank you so much for coming to my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.